Hi, guys. Welcome back. This will be an extension of the podcast, The Shadow and the Self, following Feminine Guide by Luna. Today, we're going to be covering the topic of patriarchy. Again, this will be leading into just like all the topics that we're going to be covering that make up the energetic information that we're trying to put out. So, right now, walking through, we're going to have Immateria just discuss, open us up into like this topic. But really, the reason why I wanted to bring Immateria was because he's someone initially I found through this topic. So the first video, he was basically giving like his own personal anecdote about his experience with the patriarchy. I thought it was really good. It was very sincere, very raw. So knowing that was really my first connection to him. So I'm just very happy that he can be on here right now and just being able to like further delve into this topic. So Materia, the first question for you is, what is the patriarchy?
So for me, especially when I was making that video, I was
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that the patriarchy is a system of entitlement that a lot of men carry around,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and it causes a lot of men to act in very violent and aggressive ways and very manipulative ways towards women. And
Mm-hmm.
on that particular day, me and my
Okay.
girlfriend were playing like games at a board game cafe. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't mean to rhyme there. I don't know if I did. But we were playing games at this board game cafe, and we were just reflecting on the patriarchy. I was kind of like trying to process like some other realization I'd had that day, but then it just hit me. Like, I don't know, all of a sudden that that my girlfriend has this thing where she's scared to cross the street, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
like that's like something she's always had ever since I've known her. And I never
Okay.
understood why. It was just like something that was so odd to me. And she always had like this defensiveness up like when she was just walking around. And I
Okay.
never realized that like I known that women definitely were more in danger in public, but I never recognized that that probably led to like other behaviors, like having to be
Mm-hmm.
defensive, having to like just like be on edge a lot in public. And I started to piece it together. I was like, wait, this is because she's terrified of other men coming to like do like men or someone trying to do some shit. And the thing about it, as a guy, you always think that it's like, oh yeah, someone, anyone could do something bad to someone else, but
Right.
99% of the time it's going to be a man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it kind of hit me. I was like, oh shit, the patriarchy, it's fucking real. And then and I saw it in like the most like visceral sense. I was like, oh my God. And like,
Right.
what's trippy about it was the fact that like I myself am a man, and I didn't even realize like that was what was actually going down. You know what I mean? Like men are
Right.
literally out here hunting women to the point where women feel like they need to be on guard all the time. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
You know how crazy that is? Like I was like, what? And I
No, no,
think go ahead.
uh-huh. I think that's what it is. I feel like really patriarchy, I guess like the general definition for me about the patriarchy is it's just almost like an overvalue of like the grounding aspect of society, which will be masculinity. And I feel like because there is that overvalueness of that, those same people almost gather this ego of entitlement and never really like thinking that they have to almost like provide more than just almost like who they are, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they don't see the value of other people. That's the downside.
Yeah. It's almost like you only exist in your ego and you don't understand. Basically, you're just a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, and to understand that ego perspective, like I've spent a lot of time trying to understand how that feels like as an experience, and
Mhm.
it's like in their mind, like their day-to-day mind, they literally do not conceive of anything beyond what they desire and want on that particular day, or in
Right.
that particular hour. Like they're not thinking that of like what she's feeling. They're thinking about, ooh, I want this. Ooh, this feels good.
Mhm.
I guess they're just constantly wanting things and testing things and seeing how they feel all day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I think too the thing with that, like, because I guess like the next question for that would be like, why is it that because the patriarchy had to be born from something. Like, why is it the men almost like created a system or were born into a system where that was deemed acceptable?
Like what are you asking? Are you asking like why men were born into the patriarchy?
So I'm asking, why is it that you think men took that route? Like, why is it that they saw like there's not a problem with me only seeing myself as oneness, that everything has to cater to me.
Like in terms of the society or in terms of like patriarchy itself?
I think in the society.
Like in the society?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Because it's the path of least resistance. There you go. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
the path of least resistance when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Because the women kind of play into the patriarchy by not fighting it, you know?
Right.
So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know there was like a woman's resistance against it, to be honest. I didn't even this is a new thing to me. It's like 3 months ago, had no clue that there was a whole movement against the patriarchy, which is something
Yeah.
I'd even understand I was playing a role in. So it's like, whoa. It's like, whoa.
Do you feel like that's something recent? Because right now it's like with 4B and just like a lot of the things, I feel like women are being like, and just like right now with the male loneliness crisis, like it's being, in people's faces that like women are basically choosing to not participate as much as in the past. But in the past,
Mm.
why would you say they would more? Do you think it's purely from a, a place of, not wanting to go through violence, or do you think it was more so a psychological thing?
Like why women don't want to participate with men anymore?
No, why in the past would women participate more?
Would they participate more?
And I would argue up to this point, it's like they're physically disengaging, but psychologically, I feel like there's still a lot of things that women have to go through to almost cleanse themselves from the patriarchy.
I think so too, because like there's a lot of pressure for women to just be silent. But
Mm-hmm.
because like men are violent, that's like violence is like the biggest aspect of the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Like without violence, I think the patriarchy would have a hard time even existing, to be honest.
Mm.
So it's like that. Like a lot of women are just scared, and so they don't say much. They play along. Some of them even don't even notice what's going on. Some women are very naive about it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's quite a variety of things going on, but I think overall, I'm trying to answer your question, but I feel like I still don't understand the question you were asking earlier.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what the previous? Well, my question with that is like, I guess like the first question I was asking is like, why do you think men don't see like a problem in them only existing within their ego? Because I think like kind of we were saying like we were talking about like the initial introduction, topics of like all the stuff that we're gonna talk about. I think my
Mhm.
curiosity, why do men not see it as problematic for them to almost like search within themselves, gain more awareness, heal? Why is it that they feel more comfort and like being in that state of like their ego? Almost like they never go through an ego death. They're just living in their ego.
So can you tell me some more about your experiences with men, like that kind of like helped you, that kind of like painted like the foreground for that picture, for that question? Because I'm curious to like how to see like how like the men in your life have affected you,
Oh.
because for me, I never really perceived it that way. No,
Mm.
I kind of did, but at the same time, it was different because I'm a guy. You know what I mean? So I'm curious to see like how, because you're a woman asking me this question. I'm curious to see like how your perspective is like interfering with the question.
Okay. So I can think back, I guess like your first experience as a girl will always be your father. Some daughters, I guess, they aren't able to have like a present father in their life, but I did. And I feel like even if you have a present father, that can be such as same as harmful, because I think a lot of these men, they never work on themselves. So they're in that patriarchy is so deep seated in these men. So even if they're present fathers, they're harming their daughters because they themselves have not done the work. So they slowly exist in their ego, and they almost like, I feel like if they're narcissistic, they push that narcissism onto their daughters versus them being like healed and able to like really connect with their daughters, if that makes any sense. I guess
Mm.
like my father, with a lot of the men that I think you start interacting with them through puberty, obviously for like like relationship reasons, and then especially in my 20s, I think I always noticed with men, it's like, again, and it's the same thing as I had mentioned in episode one. I think that they're emotionally stunted, and that prevents them from connecting with other women. But it gets more scary as they get older, because it's like, okay, you were like that as a teenager, and I think like when I was younger, I thought, they're just young. Even though I'm gonna be completely honest that by 20 they should still have a certain level of work done, but I was like, okay, they're just young. And then they turn 25, they turn 30, and I'm like, oh, no, no, no. At this point, they're not young anymore. They're actually just staying in that ego and they're actually just stunted. And I'm just thinking in my head, that means that there has to be like nothing that's really propelling them from like wanting to like work on themselves. Because I think
Mm.
that a lot of men with our society, it's especially in the past, I think that they would obtain things despite them never actually doing that type of work. So in their heads, they're like, why do I even have to? I'm just a man and I'm entitled to these things. But I think now, again, since we're shifting in our society and the women are, finding ways to survive without interacting with men, men will always want to be around women because men understand, like, energetically the benefits they gain from women. But I think women no longer want to interact with them because at this point they're dealing with men who aren't doing that type of work and they're honestly just not healthy to be around, if that makes any sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Confirmation.
Mm,
Like for real, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Because it's like what's the point of interacting with that kind of person? That person sounds kind of dangerous to be around.
yeah, they are.
Yeah, and so when you're asking that question,
Hmm.
it's like why are these men choosing to be these dangerous unconscious creatures? Like and I don't think they realize that either. That's the terrible part, right?
But I think like that, like not realizing, and I think that's also what is dangerous with a lot of these like I guess dynamics that most people are born into. I think for the most part, usually based on my observation of just families and just people, usually what it is, it's that the father, he's an unworked man, so an unhealed man, and then he gets with another unhealed woman who almost just like coddles him. So it's like he will continue to age. He'll be like, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 to the grave. And it's just there's never that like incentive for him to like want to like do that work to actually live a good quality of life. It's like he stays stunted and the woman just coddles to like get by, if that makes any sense.
That's really interesting. Yeah, and so it's like this unequal dynamic that always ends in divorce. Yeah, that makes
Hmm.
sense. But it's like it's so bad for both people. But sometimes they make it work.
Yeah, it's bad, but I think the saddest thing is that at the end of the day, especially if they have children, it's like you're bringing that example to your kids. You know what I mean? So your kids are gonna see like, oh, okay, as a woman, this is my role. Like I have to coddle, and as a man, since I'm a man and I'm providing, or I'm just a man and I can just threaten with violence. There's no need for me to be better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. So men become dependent on being violent. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's probably one of the reasons I awoke and like unlike a lot of other guys that like I was never a violent person. Like
Yeah.
I'm super competitive, but I don't like hurting people for the sake of hurting them. Like there needs to be a purpose to the pain.
I know, but that's what it is. It's like even amongst men, and I feel like it's interesting because you're a guy, so you can kind of give me more of your perspective. But it's honestly fascinating as a girl to like observe men because I think men they also have a dynamic. It's like the man who's the most violent has the most power. You know what I mean? So it's like in a system like that, how are men not going to be incentivized to almost always stay in that aggressive animal state instead of develop in their human side?
Yeah, and I'm kind of realizing something right now that I might make a video about this is like the reality that a lot of men think that like the highest state is to be in a state where you're the most violent while outputting the least amount of effort. And they think that like that's like prime manhood. So like they admire characters that are super strong, like superheroes, or like people like Andrew Tate who have a lot of like social power and like they look like it looks like it's effortless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is like always what's described as the most masculine thing from what I'm seeing now.
And you know what's crazy? I think, and I feel like we even have someone right now, and like the presidency is an example of that.
Hmm.
That's just for our society because it's like when you know what I mean? It's like all this is silly and fun and games until we get someone who is in like that level of influence that can literally press a button and like bomb everything. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like we don't understand the consequences of like basically men feeling like that is like the hierarchy we must win, therefore all men take that agenda, and it's like that just leads to the destruction of like the potential of a civilized society. You know what I mean?
Right. Because men have lost the ability to dream. They've become like kind of lobotomized because they're all chasing the same thing and they're all reinforced to chase the same thing. They're like lobsters, but they're like rats at the same. It's weird. It's like they're all like going the same direction. And it's like such a huge force. Like it's even has a name, the patriarchy, you know?
Mhm.
Like it's so trippy. And I'm like, wow. Like even this conversation is very enlightening for me. Because I think it's helping me tie some loose ends in terms of like how I've been perceiving like certain blockages, like certain things you wonder like why do I want to do this? Like for me, like I wanted to be successful, but like
Mhm.
I always question like why do I want this idea? Why do I want this idea of success? Like why not this one or this one or this one or that one? And I'm kind of
Mhm.
realizing a lot of it's tied to like me trying to prove that I'm a man, you know?
Mhm.
Prove that, but like prove that you're a man just basically means prove that you're the most aggressive
Yep.
and lazy person there, pretty much.
Hmm. I guess my confusion with that is where does that like laziness come from? Because like I think I don't know. As a girl, I kind of would think it would be the opposite. Like I would think that the man who feels like the most productive is the most like alpha or the head man. Like does the laziness? Well, yeah. Like I don't understand the laziness concept because I think that has like that means something else. But tell me like what do you think?
And when I say lazy, I mean like the one that has the most power but has to use the least amount of effort to use it.
Okay. So like the most influence us. That's what you mean.
Like yeah, effortlessly influential, you know, that kind of person. Which they could
Okay.
just be the most violent one, you know, that could be it. Or they
Mm,
could be the most successful one or most productive one, but you know it's like this idea of aura. You know, it's ironic. I feel like the culture is like manifesting these terms, but they actually like kind of correlate to exactly what's going on, you know?
yeah. But it's crazy because I don't think that's aura. I just think that's fear.
Well, I mean that's what aura is. It's like fear. It's like this fear energy, like a
Mm-hmm.
character, like at least in like in the anime circles that I'd be around, like when someone has aura, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like that person is intimidating. Isn't that
Um,
just fear?
yeah, I don't think that's real like power. And I guess this is gonna come down to like a lot of the topics that we talk about. I think that it's like, and I think it comes back down to what you're saying that like men, like what where they see like ultimate power is to be the most feared. I actually think to have the ultimate power, it's like people don't fear you, but they like respect you. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because
Okay.
I someone like Trump, like, and not even Trump, because I really do think like there's other examples, but he's just the most obvious one. But it's like a lot of people will probably know like what he's doing is messed up, not right. They'll just say yes out of fear, but do they really respect him? Like, no.
Hmm.
You know,
Nah.
when you respect someone, you know that that person, like, you don't fear them. You just, there's just something in you that's like magnetizing you towards that person, towards following that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're being like it's like an impulse.
Men have tried to emulate that through like aggression, basically.
Pretty much. You know, I tried to emulate it at one point through like being impressive. I was a professional piano player and I had a really big ego like 5 years ago. So like
Hmm.
I understand what that's like. You know, I literally tried to do that.
Hmm.
It's crazy. If I feel like I've always been gifted in every arena I enter, but I always like use it in like the least productive way.
Hmm.
You know, like I feel like this whole new spirituality thing is new for me because like okay, I'm actually like being very mindful of how I'm using this influence, learning how to guide it and stuff like that.
Right.
Before it was all about just like being the most impressive person there.
Mhm. Okay. Hmm.
And so that was my male ego. And I guess this kind of is to answer kind of your question from earlier, like why don't men ever change? I
Hmm.
think it's like also like because like when I was like that, I genuinely I genuinely thought that if I got enough validation, I'd feel okay. Like crazy.
That's what you're saying. Like, I think, and again, like I said, all these topics that we're talking about, like, really do glue themselves together. I
Mhm.
think that's that sense of you doing the work, and I'm talking about like your inner work, like you really, you really go through your trauma, you really are able to get into that state of awareness. That is what's going to give you real confidence. And I think
Mhm.
men, they depend on more sensitive people, aka women, or just other people to do that type of work. They almost want to shun away from that because they feel like that gives their power away, and they would rather just get that sense of like validation through like accomplishments, through money. You know what I mean? Through just being like the head dog in like the hierarchy of aggression. But it's like that's never
Absolutely.
evidence. You know what I mean? That's why you even see men as they get older, they start like I really think that's what's going on with this president that we have going on. It's just like they really think that like just by garnering all these things in the physical world, they're gonna like overcompensate for the fact that they're actually very insecure.
Yeah, very insecure. Because I mean, they never like looked at themselves, so they don't even know. They have
No.
they have no clue. They're just walking around thinking that this shit's all sweet and nice, but it's really not.
Yeah. Yep. That's what they said. I just don't think they get it. Like they don't get like, okay, and I guess like now that can like move on into like I guess another question.
Hmm.
What do you like because with the patriarchy, I think women's place has always been interesting. I think women are practically dehumanized in the patriarchy, from a sense of like just providing because you on your own are not valuable, so you have to be useful in a way. And you also have to provide more than anything. I think like what's very obvious like aesthetic pleasure to the man. Like kind of tell me from your perspective, what do you think the patriarchy does to women, or like how does the patriarchy view women?
Like the patriarchy views women as like objects, as like cows, like animals. It's
Mm-hmm.
really sick, honestly. Like, and I think we've this is the best we've ever had it because back in the day it was so overt, and
Yep.
it's in a lot of places it's still pretty overt. But it's like women were just like sold and bought like property. Like a woman
Mm.
was basically just like a generation generator, basically. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's how they saw them. Like sex slaves were a normal thing. Like
Mm.
these things weren't even hidden. Like it's only recently, last like 1,000 years, humanity is really starting to wake up. Like, okay, maybe we shouldn't enslave all of the women. Like like all of them. And I think that it's still kind of a thing today, even though it's more subtle. So, you got to forgive some of the boys because that's how they grew up. But at the same time, like, it's pretty fucking bad. Like, a lot of
Yep.
guys don't see women as people. And I try to discuss this on my channel. And a lot of people
Uh-huh.
get it, but I don't think everyone gets it. It's like they genuinely don't see you as an individual. They see you
Mm-hmm.
as like a means to an end.
Yeah. And okay, that being said, because you did mention it a little bit in like the first episode, go into that because I think that's very fascinating. Because as a girl, I think it's especially like I guess like the way, I move in the world, I think it's very difficult for me to even dehumanize men. So it's fascinating to me how you're saying how, from a place of default, men do not view women as humans. So kind of tell me the mechanism that goes into that.
Well, I wouldn't say from a place of default. It definitely has varying degrees because this isn't like a universal opinion. Like a lot of guys have like varying degrees of it. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
overall, the patriarchy kind of is like that. But to kind of
Mm-hmm.
divulge into like how it kind of happens, I think it
Mm-hmm.
happens first in the way that you are introduced to women. It depends how like that idea is brought to you. Because like you're introduced with the idea of a woman or a girl, you
Mm-hmm.
just have other people. You're just talking to this person, that person. Then you figure out, oh, they're a girl. Okay, okay. I'm supposed to treat a girl this way. Okay, and then
Mm-hmm.
but nothing fundamentally changes until you get into like these big social groups where you're with like a bunch of women, a bunch of girls, a bunch of boys, and then people tend to start to like kind of group up together. So a lot of the guys will go to one side, a lot of girls will go to one side. Depend
Mm-hmm.
especially in this kind of environment. Like I grew up in very Christian, rigid environment. So boys and girls are kind of like naturally separated in that kind of environment. And
Mm-hmm.
then and so this is the kind of the problem with it though, because people are grouping together, they're kind of isolated from each other. So the girls aren't really talking to the boys about what it means to be a girl. The boys aren't really talking about to the girls what it means to be a guy. So they're kind of just like learning about each other through observation. Some people would date each other, but for the most part, it's kind of like a little like a unspoken separation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
So you're
think
saying because
go
of
ahead.
that separation, why they dehumanize women, or
It's
like I guess like
it's
what?
like it's like I'm laying the foundation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, because people are separated, they just dehumanize them.
Oh,
No, it's also it's the fact that they're separated. The separation is because and this is why like recovering from the patriarchy requires like you talking to women and like
right.
getting their perspective because the foundation of it is separate is like a non-dialogue. Like you just don't
Mm,
understand what women are doing. And then what happens after that is that people go through the natural process of like socialization into the society. And there's a lot of patriarchal undertones in everything, like the
mhm,
media,
mhm,
television, fucking the
mhm,
news.
mhm,
This boys get introduced to new ideas like toys and stuff, and they want to try them out. A lot of these toys have patriarchal
mhm.
values behind them. You know what I mean? So
Right,
it's kind of something that's like it's like baked into everything. So you pick it up growing up. And because you're
right.
not talking to women about their actual experiences, you just like, accept this what this source is telling you about women's experiences.
Mhm,
You know what I mean?
right.
So that's kind of what happens. And if you have a brother or if you have a brother and you're a woman, you've probably seen this happen like quite literally in your house. Like your brothers just
Mhm,
don't ask you about like what you're doing or not. They just assume or some shit. But it's not
mhm.
that's not everyone. But you get what I mean?
Yeah. I guess like the problem with all this, like kind of like what you're saying, is that they only see themselves as like the center of the universe.
Right.
And I think the problem with the patriarchy, though, I think the patriarchy, what it causes is just like, and we're seeing it, the results now, like it creates an epidemic of narcissism. Because really what patriarchy is just narcissism. It's seen like, because we don't really have to contribute anything, period. And because we're men, we're supposed to be catered to. You know what I mean? And I think that that is just narcissism. Because it's like, at the end of the day, I think the way we're supposed to live our lives, and I guess like that's the argument for a lot of the matriarchy. It's like you really have to come from a place of like you're giving, and that's the place that everyone's supposed to be catering to. Not that because you think you're special and everyone's going to cater to you. Because if not, it's almost like you're catering to a black hole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Hold
You're
on.
not place of like source from a place of like you're giving, and that's why we're catering to you. You're getting catered to from a place of ego.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I think that's what I said too with my example with like kind of like what I said with my father. I think with a lot of these men, and I've noticed it in a lot of families, it's like the father never did the work, so he is a narcissist. You know what I mean? And then he, gets with a partner who just coddles the narcissism. And I think the girl, it's either one of two. It's like either the girl becomes a coddler, like in whatever relationship she's in, or she herself picks up on that narcissism. And I think that's what's dangerous with our society because of the patriarchy. Not just the patriarchy, I feel like this is tied into even like white supremacy with a lot of different things. I think we're almost being programmed to believe if you're narcissistic, you're going to get catered to. So there's no real incentive for me to work on myself, be a better person, be in that state of like connected to source. If I can be almost like a horrible person, but everything's going to be given to me. You know what I mean? Out of fear, like what you said. That being said, I mean, you personally, Materia, do you feel like you've experienced this effect of the narcissism that has been created by the patriarchy in your everyday life?
Hmm. Yes, I have, especially with my
Mm,
parents.
mm-hmm.
My parents are
I
like
guess,
basically the worst of this.
I guess give me like, because I think you're just like, I don't know. I feel like from all the stuff that we've talked about, I love how just like raw and sincere you've been, and just even in personal conversations, and like how I guess like harmful it has been to be around them, even though like I don't, we want to believe that was not their intention, but just because of the life that they've lived and just their lack of like, you know, doing the inner work, has affected you. I'm curious, like, can you go into like I guess like specific details about how like their narcissism has affected you?
Okay. Um, yeah, so it's affected me in quite a bit of ways.
Mm, mhm,
The first way is that it just made my life like so tumultuous just to be at home because a narcissist lives in their own world. So it's always
mhm,
like you have to respect their world at all times, and that's exhausting. Especially when you're trying to
mhm,
build your own world, it's kind of invasive almost.
mm,
So narcissists,
mhm,
narcissists are like the hardest people to grow up around, in my opinion. They just make growing up such a difficult experience
mm,
because it's an individuation process, and they just make it all about them. So that was a big part of my relationship with my parents, that they just made everything about them and their religion. That was it. Nothing else mattered in our relationship.
Mm.
Maybe
I
school,
guess,
but not really
hmm
anything else beside that.
I guess like we're, and we are gonna bring in a speaker that's basically gonna give her experience, growing up in a very religious family and just that being connected to the patriarchy. Well, why do you think typically people who have these more patriarchal beliefs, like almost like I feel like they use religion to justify those beliefs?
Religion is patriarchal in its very nature,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
right? It's like one God in the sky, and then everyone else is like his son, his sons and his children. It's
Mm-hmm.
like really, it's really all just, it's very patriarchal. At least like Islam and Christianity, any of the Abrahamic religions are very
Mm-hmm.
patriarchal. So that's kind of why. It's not always the case though. Not every religion is super patriarchal. There's some really cool ones out there. But
Mm.
I think I think patriarchy is also a very good tool for control, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just hierarchy in general.
I feel like that's what it is, though. I guess like from a lot of the stuff we've had in this conversation, I think really, I think in my opinion, the gist of patriarchy is it's control. You know what I mean? It's control to a very toxic level, and I think that sense of control that the patriarchy has done to our society, to our species, has been nothing but suffocating. You know what I mean? I think those are like a lot of the, I guess like the horrible outcomes we're seeing now. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, been very extremely suffocating, honestly. Way more
Mm.
suffocating than a lot of people are willing to admit. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and I was thinking about this earlier. It's that like what if the reality that we're living in is basically lies, most of it means that each one of us are
Mm-hmm.
living in our own little bubble of what we think
Mm.
reality is, our own
Right.
little narcissistic bubble.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
it means that the society really is just constantly running away from itself. And
yeah,
that's like trippy as fuck to realize. And so I think patriarchy suffocates us in a very interesting way. It makes it makes us unwilling to see reality for what it is
yeah.
at the end of the
But
day.
mhm.
Go ahead.
I think that being said, I think this is gonna be tied to like even like what we talked about in episode one. I wonder why is it that humans would much rather run away from themselves than live like a truly like satisfactory life, not only physically but also energetically. Why? Why do you think?
Hmm.
Because a lot of these topics that we're going to talk about, the patriarchy and just like a lot of the, I guess, systems that have been placed for that have been placed into that level of control and that have almost like suffocated us as we have mentioned. I always think like why is it that humans, I think sometimes because even people like let's say like they're able to maybe escape it a bit more than others. Like let's say they make a little bit more money, they let's say they're a white woman, why is it that almost like they are still in those like chains? It's like an invisible chain. Why would they rather do that instead of like seeking to expand and seeking freedom from that? You know what I mean?
A couple reasons. The main reason
Mm-hmm.
is because it's inaccessible.
Okay.
The second main reason is because they don't know it exists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the last main reason is because it's not popular. There's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of momentum behind it.
Yeah.
So like running like you see, like I think what's interesting, especially when it comes to like spiritual individuals like us, is that we have a lot of momentum built up over the years.
Mm-hmm.
We've like really practiced this shit to the point where it's become like part of our natural day-to-day life. So people can
Right.
sense it, they can feel it, and that draws them in. But most people don't have that momentum in their own experience. And to be honest, most people don't have that momentum to share. Like we are kind of
Mm-hmm.
anomalies in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
But
mean?
I think like, and I think that being said from my experience, because I guess, like I said, I guess my personal aspiration would be to be able to create that momentum in other people. I think the saddest thing is that because of, like I said, all these systems, like the patriarchy, I think what's so sad is that it almost creates this idea within humans that there isn't something beyond the physical. You know what I mean? I think that's the most dangerous effect of the patriarchy and of a lot of these systems. It's that it's created this idea in humans that the world does not exist beyond the realms of physicality So therefore, they're not even curious, or they're almost like condescending or don't seek it, not knowing that that's what's destroying them from having a good quality of life.
Right. And I think if they even, and I think that's so interesting, right? Because as you were talking, I was thinking in my head, they probably would. I mean, if I guess like they're seeing it as like, if there was something that was so powerful, more powerful than the physical world, then it would come and save me, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're kind of waiting for it to show up and be
Mm,
like, hey, I exist and I'm here to help you out. But that's not how the
mm,
metaphysical works. The metaphysical
no,
is you. You're
yeah.
choosing what the metaphysical is in
Mm-hmm.
any given moment. So
Mm-hmm.
it's weird. I think that's part of the programming too. The whole savior complex a lot of people have with the
Mm,
universe.
yeah. Yeah, I think too, like I guess to expand on that, I think that's also I feel like a part of the narrative like patriarchal men try to even use. I feel like, a lot of the false propaganda is like men are the saviors, are the providers, are all this, and it's like to an extent, yeah, but I also feel like not completely. I think at the end, women themselves are their first saviors, and then they actually ironically save men. You know what I mean? I think that like the real like salvation or the real like I guess like what people are deep down seeking is like what you said, it's their soul, you know what I mean? That they always run away from.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, it is their souls, but it's well, like I said, it's very hard to get there, man. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess for me, like I tend to get hyperfixated on the fact of the difficulty to get there,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
just because I was once a normie, so like
Mm.
I really it really is like kind of like mind blowing how difficult it is to wake up and like how treacherous it is. It's like the most treacherous thing ever.
It is, and I guess like that being I think that that was really my incentive to even make this podcast and even being able to like be someone who's in this field, like even way back when. I think what's hard for me is that I think sometimes humans do not allow themselves to be helped, even though deep down that's what they're yearning for. And I think that also is like, I think that's also what's so dangerous with like I guess like the narrative that a lot of these toxic systems have almost like put out. Like they always put out like if something is powerful, if something is like you know what I mean? I guess like has that ability to influence you or just like, have power over you. I feel like people always interpret that from a place of negativity instead of seeing that as like, no, it can actually be benevolent and this person or this knowledge that I'm receiving is actually for me to like go into a better direction, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think, like, okay, because I think this can even be expanded to like the male and female dynamic. You know how like women, if they're intuitive, if they're like spiritual, it's always like I feel like the patriarchy made it seem like these women were witches, like they're evil, we must burn them. It's like
Hmm.
I don't know if it's a fear of the unknown or it's just like they're projecting. Like I don't know if it's like men perhaps think if I have this level of power, it's because I'm evil. I don't think they can ever like associate power to benevolence. You know what I mean?
That's true. I mean, like that was done on purpose, right? Because they were
Yeah.
building. Because I mean, another thing we have to mention with the patriarchy is that it exists alongside like society. It was created to like control societies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like women that could intuit things, predict the future, tell you how you're feeling, like those people kind of destabilize a patriarchal society.
Mhm, mhm.
They create healthy children. They create like people that like themselves.
Mhm,
They have emotional support, emotional bandwidth. Like that shit,
mhm.
this stabilizes the fuck out of a patriarchal system. So they have to go.
Mm. Isn't that so sad? Like, isn't that sad that like why is it that like they would rather seal that path to the infinite, that path to source, that path to happiness, that path to love, in order to keep people down for their own benefit, which ultimately is not even their benefit. It's just, in their immature, way of thinking, they think it's their benefit.
It's greed. It's really greed.
Mhm.
And I think
Mm.
one of the biggest things about the patriarchy that a lot of people don't see is greed. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of the people who benefit the most from it are people who were like born into it, or maybe they fought for their position, but like they
Mm.
feel like they need to like soak up as much as they can now that they have this power, you know?
Mm. But I guess where does that greed stem from? I guess
Um,
again, this will be tied even to the capitalism portion of like our series. But like, yeah, where does that greed stem from?
I think it stems from the fact that like you said before, there's like these people aren't connected to themselves on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't have any sense of like they don't they've never personally built themselves. You know what I mean? They've always kind of
Mm.
like been told who they are because of their
Mm.
society, what they're doing, their baseball team, their mother, their father, their last name.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have a sense of built identity, and so they don't really understand the schematics of how they exist.
Mm.
So they feel kind of empty, you know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
greed, and so their greed is just their attempt to feel better about themselves, you know? Like,
Mm.
it really just helps them justify their ego as well.
Mm.
Like it's like, oh yeah, I'm the big strong guy because look at how much I have, you know?
Mm. So it's like
But
I guess like a poor attempt to like to think like they're I guess like bigger than what they really are.
yeah, because once you really like knock into these people and really test them, they don't really stand up. They just get really angry and they get annoying.
Mm. Yeah. I mean that said though, like, you know what I mean? They could actually, I guess, like build a sense of self if they push that sense of immaturity to the side.
Absolutely, but it's hard,
Mm.
super hard.
Yeah.
It's like the most
Yeah.
difficult thing for them. It's like it's literally like pulling out like a toe or some shit. It's really tough.
Mm-hmm. Mm. But yes, immaterial. I think for now, we're gonna conclude the podcast right here. I think really this was really good. This is a really good intro into the topic. I think we mentioned really good points. Coming forward, what we will do is we're gonna bring two speakers. One speaker will be a personal speaker who has had an experience of like the effects of the patriarchy with her like just like her upbringing, which was very based on religion. The second speaker we will have that will be able to tie the patriarchy together with capitalism and how those two intertwine. So if you're interested in both of these topics, please feel free to keep watching for the following episodes. And Material, thank you for having just for like presenting yourself on this podcast and like sharing your insights and just having really the patience and just the insight to really like delve into this topic.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Thank you.